Hello guys, welcome once again. In this video, I'm going to teach you about loops in PHP. And in this particular video, I'm going to teach you about a while loop and do while loop. But first of all, what is a while loop? By the name itself, you can understand that a loop is a piece of code which will execute again and again in loop until and unless some condition is true or false. Okay. So loop is a piece of code which we use to execute a piece of code again and again until and unless some condition is met. So let's start with while loop. For example, I want to print some string again and again 10 times uh, without writing the code 10 times, right? So for example, I want to print echo, and for example programming knowledge, I want to print it 10 times, but I don't want to repeat the code. I don't want to do it like this 10 times. I just want to use the same line and I want to print this 10 times. How can I do it? So I can do it using loops. So for example, what I will do here is I will just first of all I will declare a counter, and I will initialize it by 1. And let's see how we can use while loop first. What is the basic skeleton of while? So while loop is declared by this keyword while and these two brackets, and here comes your your code. So this is the keyword to declare while loop, and in this bracket comes the condition which has to match in order to execute the code inside your while loop. So I want to print this whenever some condition is true. Now in while loop there is a number called 0, and whenever you give as an argument to while loop, your condition will never be true, because 0 is equal to false in PHP whenever you pass it as an argument for checking some condition. And on the other hand, 1 is considered as always true. So if you give 1 as a while loop, and it will keep on running forever without stopping. So never attempt something like this until and unless you have some concrete reason of doing this. Otherwise it will crash your browser, it will crash your computer, and it can be harmful for your program. So never try something like this until and unless you have some reason to do it. Okay. Okay, so for example, I want to print this 10 times. How can I do it? I can provide a condition to this while loop that until and unless this counter is less than or equal to 10, I want to print this. But we are not using this counter anywhere, right? So it will always be less. We initialize this counter by 1, and 1 is always less than 10. Then this is the same condition as giving 1 to over here. This is the same condition like this, which will never be met, right? So what we can do is we can increase this counter every time we execute this code. We can increase it like this by this increment operator, and what this will do, let's see, it will print out this 10 times. Let's try to run the program, and it prints this programming knowledge 10 times. Let me provide this break, which I always forget, so that it will be printed in line by line. You see, now for example, I want to check whether is it executing 10 times really or not. What I can do is I can just provide this single quotes here, for example, and or even I can use double quotes also, and I can use concatenation operator. So I can concatenate this here counter, and so I want to just print the counter value, not the counter plus plus, right? And then I want to provide the break. Okay, so space this counter and then the break. In double quotes I will provide the break, and let's do it with the single quotes for now. Single quote, single quote, single quotation, and single quotation. And here I should add my and symbol, otherwise it will not recognize this. And let's see what is the value of counter one by one. Okay, I will just rerun it, and you see the value of counter first of all is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 until 10, right? So what's happening here is you provide the value of counter is equal to 1, and it goes to this code, and here value of counter is 1, which is less than 10, so it will execute this code, and the value of counter will be printed 1 here, and then your counter will be increased by 1, so the value of counter becomes 2 here. It will go once again to the loop, it will check 2 is less than or less than 10 still, it will print this, and the counter will be 2, and counter will be increased to 1 more, which is 3, and it will keep on doing this until and unless this counter becomes 11, and this condition is false. 11 is not less than or equal to 10, so this code will not be executed, and your code will go out. Yeah, okay. So this is how you can use while loop. And what is the basic thing here? Until and unless this condition is true, your code will be executed. Now you can also use do while loop to perform the same task, but the problem with do while loop is not a problem, but the property of do while loop is it will execute at least once even if your condition is true. So for example, I will show you how you can declare do while loop. You just need to write do here instead of while, and it will include these curly braces, and after your curly braces you provide while, and you just give the semicolon here. Okay, so by the skeleton itself you can understand what it will do. It will do first, so do means do something, so your program will come here, it will execute this condition, and it will check this condition after executing this code. Okay, while whenever you were using while, it was checking the condition first and then executing, but in the case of do while loop it will execute the code first and then check the condition. For example, I do it like this, or I do it like this, which is never true, right? So our program should ideally go out of the loop, right? Because this condition is not true. So whenever I run this, what will you expect? It will run at least once, because do while loop executes your code even if the condition is false at least once, and then checks the condition. Okay, so this is the property of do while loop. It will execute your code and then checks the properties, and if this is 10 and once again you will run it, it will execute it like this. Okay, so remember this, whenever you want to check the condition first, use while loop, and whenever you want to perform your code at least once before checking the condition, use do while loop. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please rate, comment and subscribe, and bye for now.